are joined now by Michael Bruntz of Husker 24/7. Bruntsy, what's going on?
Not much. How you doing?
We are good. We're fighting off air, which should be a surprise to no one. But this time it's about the NFL draft, so that's always good. What's
the fight?
Oh, Ravi's one of these guys that is locked into. You didn't even let me finish. You can only take a specific position at a certain number of picks, like
in this particular draft. In this particular draft, the top three guys, the top three guys are going to be quarterbacks, whether New England trades out or not. Like, there's not another guy in that category that somebody's going to be so enamored with to go up and get number 3 for somebody else. That's my point in this draft.
Unless the Giants don't take, or unless the Patriots don't take a quarterback and they move back and you think, oh, somebody's going to move into 3 to take a quarterback.
Yeah. If you're not trading up to 3 to take
what Brunsey, what do you think Denver and let's look at the trade candidates, Minnesota, Denver, and the Raiders. What would right? Is that a stretch?
No, sorry. I'm laughing because we just recorded our podcast earlier, and this is how bad it is among the Vikings fans. They were looking up what what that stands for. So that's where they're at with their draft pick.
See, I think McCarthy's going to be the one to fall. I think all this stuff leading up to it is like much ado about nothing. But do you move into the top 10 or top 5 and not take a quarterback?
No, I don't think so. I mean, that's probably what you're looking for, right? If you're going in there, and it feels like in this draft too, there's enough okay talent that you would kind of need to move up to get very specific guys. Like I don't know, like it scared me as a Denver fan where like if you don't move up, the guys that you would get later kind of scare me a little bit more, I guess.
So are you fully expecting the pick plus Cortland Sutton to move up? Like, you don't think Cortland Sutton's going to be a Bronco, correct?
Well, no, because I don't think that the franchise is run by people that understand football and like competing and things like that. So I don't expect he would be. I mean, you've seen the moves they've made this week. Does that strike you as a team that's ready to win some football games?
Yeah, although and we were talking about this with Cynthia Freeland. I agreed with her that Zach Wilson doesn't hurt you. Like, that's not a big deal.
That's true. He doesn't hurt you. He doesn't get you any closer to your already very low ceiling. So,
hey, let me ask you something here. Could you see the Chargers moving off of Herbert?
I don't know. That's a good question. It depends maybe what they'd get back, I guess.
A ton.
Yeah. I mean.
And do you know who I think the trade partner would be?
Who?
Minnesota.
Yeah. Wasn't that somebody with like that was kind of out there the last couple of days?
No, but
right?
what I thought Minnesota. So originally, and maybe I just want Minnesota to do this. You know what I was hoping Minnesota would do a month ago was make a trade with Arizona to get Kyler Murray. But now I'm like, okay, if not Murray, not sure how much Harbaugh doesn't want his own quarterback, and I don't know if Herbert and he, whatever. Like maybe, I just don't know if. It's just unprecedented to trade franchise quarterbacks this early in their career like that, unless you're Brett Favre and you're in Atlanta.
That was before he was a franchise quarterback, though. He hadn't established himself yet.
It's like I don't know. Something big is going to happen tonight, Brunsey. I'm sure of it.
Is your thought also because it's Harbaugh and you just really
you
don't know what that's really going to look like?
And I think he is going to be in a hurry to put his fingerprint on this franchise, and he can stockpile a boatload of picks.
Yeah, no, that seems like a very I wouldn't be shocked. I mean,
my real reason, especially a month ago with Murray, was they have to justify Justin Jefferson's money, and so you better get a quarterback that can get him the rock. It's a very small win. Like I think they're stuck. You can't play Jefferson with Darnold or a rookie quarterback. You just can't. You just
no, it's true.
You can't play him with a rookie quarterback.
no way.
You can't get Penix there and just let him chuck deep balls all day.
To pay him $40 million? No way.
I'm just asking.
You Brunson, my nuts?
No, I mean it's a fair. I would not mind getting to ride the Penix roller coaster, whatever that looks like. But
is Schaefer just in full-fledged grip mode?
Well, he's got the kid in the Vikings gear.
And he ate well yesterday too. Did you see him on the griddle? Oh my Lord!
Yeah, that was impressive. I think there's a lot of nervousness over there that they're going to be
Poor
having
Shelby.
to support JJ McCarthy. Yeah.
It's not.
It's Jonathan James, by the way.
Rest easy. I want to tell Schaefer to rest easy. It's not going to be. I just don't think they take McCarthy. But speaking of not rest easy, we had another midweeker. I don't know if you saw.
I was there.
Oh, you mean how Creighton swept Coastal Carolina, number 13 team ranked in the country?
No.
It's different midweek?
Although Sailors did leave the yard again, so that's always a good thing.
You mean how Paul Skeens was just painting?
Man, you guys, that was impressive. Like,
Dude, he's sick.
I was front row for that, and it was 98, 98, 95 sinker. Like, that was the first at bat.
Hey, what are you doing if you're not left-handed, which I think is probably the only side that has a chance? What are you doing with a heavy sinker like that as a as a right-handed hitter? Absolutely nothing.
Closing your eyes and just hoping you hit it, like
to hit a dribbler somewhere. There's just no way.
That's a seeing eye single.
Here's the way the two runs scored. Like a lefty, I forget who it was, barreled them up, and the right fielder's tracking the ball and actually collided with the wall and fell down. And the hitter ended up on third with a triple, and then they drove him in. Second run was Skeens basically threw wild to second on a double play ball, and they got an unearned run on it. I mean, he was just like in complete control the whole time. Like it's as like a baseball fan, like it kind of sucks with the team control thing, because like he has no business pitching in AAA right now. Like he needs to be in Major League Baseball. Like it was kind of unfair, but really cool to see. I mean, it was yeah. 98 gets on you fast. Put it that way.
Did you see Mason Miller coming for you guys?
Yes, if the control was there, and that was the question, and it's there. I mean,
I watched him again against the Yankees yesterday, or 2 days ago. What he did to the heart of that lineup, they didn't have a Bruntz. It wasn't just cheese. They looked awful doing it. You see what he did to Soto?
Yeah. I mean, it's for a right-handed hitter. I mean, he really hits the outside fastball spots really well, and has been this year. I mean, it's 101 on the black. Like, what do you do there? Like, you hope you flip it into right field somehow. Like that's a tough thing to do. I mean, he's going to be a great Yankee or Astro or whoever pretty soon. But yeah.
You fit right in with Vikings and Twins fans. Like, you're definitely in your wheelhouse with those.
He's a fatalist.
You guys are so doom and gloom.
Fatalist.
Well, I have like 20 years of proof on that.
Yeah, it's like you've gone from anecdotal to empirical data, right? Like, you're like, look, man, where do you want to start?
Until somebody sells the team, we got nothing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just hoping that they trade with the Orioles and get some good prospects back. Like, that's where I'm at now.
Bruntz, I just want to throw this stat at you. So Skeens had 7 Ks and 4 1/3 yesterday, which dropped his K per 9 average to 18.
Yeah. His strike percentage going into that was like 60-something%. Like, it's because what's his ERA? It's still like, it was like 0.57, something like that.
Yeah, it jumped all the way up to 1.8 yesterday.
Oh, geez.
Atrocious.
Wow. Send him down. Yeah.
All right, now we're gonna have to go rapid fire. Every time I get you under like the 12-minute window, it's like, oh gosh, I'm gonna lose this brilliance. I'm gonna start with baseball before we get into. I'll let Ravi do some spring football. Are you just over, like, waived it? Just it's not gonna happen with Nebraska midweek, and you're like, okay, how many Big Ten series can we win? Like, where are you emotionally with that?
No, I mean, I think you're seeing where they still need to add pitching depth. I mean, they've improved bullpen depth, and even the other night you saw it. Like, once you get into the fourth inning and you kind of start getting your high leverage guys their one inning of work, like it goes really smoothly. What they don't have is a midweek guy that can just get you started.
Five and a third, right? Something like that.
You don't even getting through the third would be fine. I mean, you take 3.
He's not lying.
Even if you look on Sundays, that last Sunday was the first time they'd had a starter go 5 innings on a Sunday. Like that's kind of where you're at. So, next week the midweeks are K-State and Creighton, and that's a little precarious. And I don't know if you do something differently. If you look at, okay, can Jaylen Worthley or somebody like that give us 2 innings right out of the gates? You might have to look at that, but just I get this a lot. Oh, he doesn't care about the midweeks, blah blah blah. It's the guys that they had hoped would be that starter in the midweeks, the Ty Horns. Crystal's been on the weekends, but those types of guys, it's not happening.
It's not even realistic to say that. If you think that he thought that Trot and Crystal, Clark and Timmerman, and you're going to be down, they're going to give up a 7 spot. Like, he cares.
Right.
Sometimes guys just got to, you got to own your part, right? Like, you're not thinking those guys are giving up 7.
No.
And they were all earned.
Right. Well, I mean, they were very earned. And that's the problem is just the inability to avoid the crooked number early in those midweeks. I mean, I think guys like Harrahill, Ty Horn, maybe Timmerman as well, they had kind of hoped would be able to slide into one of those midweeks, and they have not been able to do that with enough consistency. I mean, they started out okay against Wichita State earlier in the season. They split the midweeks down there, but part of that was you had Walsh going in the midweeks. So, there's still, I think, some improvement to be made and some development to be done in getting more of that kind of pitching depth that can get up and down a couple times, which you have to have in those midweeks. If you don't have it, you just get exposed, and that's what you're seeing.
We're talking with Michael Bruntz, Husker 24/7. All right, Bruntsy, let's switch gears to spring football. There is a spring game on Saturday. I don't know if you've heard. A lot of
I understand.
A lot of Husker fans have been talking a lot about it. DB and I were talking about, ironically enough, the DBs this morning, and it seems like a group that people have a lot of confidence in. But when you really get into position by position, are there more questions than maybe people give it credit for at first blush?
Yes,
I agree.
The two losses that I think you have to find a way to replace, and I kind of throw the caveat in there that we don't know what Deshaun Singleton's going to be in the fall because he hasn't been really doing much this spring, and I think he's going to factor heavily there. Mm-hmm. But that safety spot, I mean, you lose Phelan Sanford, you lose Omar Brown. Those are 2 guys that played a lot of good football for you last year on the back end, very reliable. How do you replace that? And I think you have pieces that can fit in there, but I think the safety spot and kind of how you reshuffle the deck there was maybe a position battle or a question mark that maybe didn't even rise to the top of my mind. I mean, I was kind of focused on, who's going to replace Quentin Newsome? What's the guard spot going to look like this year? But, I think when you talk about just what you're having to replace in terms of production and snaps and all that other stuff, safety is a big one. Is Kobe Brett's ready to, have a bigger role there? Can Deshaun Singleton come back and be the player he was before he got hurt? I mean, those are some legitimate questions, I think, that you kind of have to ask, and we'll see kind of what they've got there. But, they've got numbers in that room. I think, having Isaac Gifford back there to kind of, control traffic and get guys in the right place helps. But that's one spot where you definitely need a little bit more depth, and you got to find that going into the fall.
Yeah, I obviously it's hit super close to home. The whole time during the recruiting process, I was just kind of chuckling. I'm like, obviously you hear numbers and they've got this guy and that guy, and I'm in my head, I'm like, well, do they? Because you're going to play 3 safeties, and it doesn't take long. And this isn't a doom and gloom segment. It's just the reality of what real depth looks like. If you're playing 3 at a time, probably if something happens to Gifford and or Singleton, right? What do you do?
Mm-hmm.
People forget Phelan Sanford played multiple spots in that secondary, right? Like you get inexperienced and thin in a hurry, and I haven't even gotten a corner, right? Like, there's a lot that the other corner won't have played any snaps in meaningful games at Nebraska.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's a big question mark, and the thing about safety too, at times you've the past you've had to move like Quentin Newsome over there. You've had Malcolm Hartzog's kind of done a little bit of everything.
It's a hard spot to play. It is very demanding. Yeah.
And I like you said, I mean, you got to find 3 of them, and even if you look at the 2 deep from last year, I did this pre-spring. I mean, it's pretty glaring what you're having to replace at that spot. And, even the guys that were on the 2 deep last year, it's kind of like, well, you kind of saw little pieces here and there from them, but they really haven't had to be counted on either. So that'll be that warrants watching, I think, going into Saturday with kind of how that picture looks.
I'll give you a guy to look at back there that you're gonna check your program guide. Ready? Cooper Wilson,
the kid from Washington.
Yep.
He was a camp find for him.
Yep. Like that's a guy, like, I think he kind of knows what he's doing. He's young and green and super inexperienced, but people are gonna like, who's 38? And I'm not projecting performance, but I think he's going to get a lot of snaps on Saturday, and people are going to be checking their programs.
Okay, that's a good poll.
I got you.
And would not have been one that I would not have been front of mind. So yeah,
that's what I'm here for, Bruntzy. Me and you.
Okay,
Bruntz,
okay. I appreciate it.
You got it.
Let me ask you if you remember something here. Coach Cooper, I don't know, whenever the last time we talked to him, it was probably a few weeks ago when he was doing a presser, mentioned, and it was kind of in conjunction with an answer about Malcolm Hartzog, about how he'd been focusing on his position as a safety this year as opposed to moving back and forth. But then in the same breath talked about how he was interested in positional versatility with basically everyone else, trying to make sure they knew multiple spots, the way DV was talking about with Phelan Sanford last year.
Mm-hmm.
Are you interested to see kind of where some of these guys end up? Because I get the sense, and maybe I'm putting too much into maybe a throwaway line that he put out there, but I get the sense that maybe the places where these guys end up is a lot more fluid than some of us are willing to wrap our minds around.
Completely agree.
Yeah, that's probably true. And I think Damon, you probably know this better than me. I mean, it feels like they recruit with that in mind. I mean, the guys that were already on the roster too, left over from the Frost staff. I mean, Travis Fisher recruited that way too, where it was like a guy that had gone his entire high school career as a safety was all of a sudden a corner at Nebraska because they kind of saw him a little bit differently. And it's smart. I mean, if you've got to, find 5 defensive backs, you're probably going to have to lean on that, or a guy's going to have to play in a position that's maybe not as natural or most comfortable position. So, in my little pea brain, it makes sense to kind of, cross-train guys and get guys comfortable at different spots. I mean, I think they do have guys that you'd feel okay about going out there and putting on the edge and having to cover one-on-one. safety is a little bit of a different animal, maybe though. Just with what you're asked to do and the run support piece of it. But
Yep.
I don't know. I mean, my sense is that Nebraska's cornerbacks, I think, are pretty willing to get up there and stick their nose in run support when they have to. But I'll go with the premise of the question. I mean, I don't think things are necessarily settled back there. And I mean, you guys know how this staff works. If a guy can help them in a certain spot that's not where they're at now, they're not going to be afraid to move them.
Yeah, and in a hurry too. Let me ask, Bruntz, have you prepared yourself for what you think the spring game is going to look like? Are you expecting to see, explosive plays, or will it be kind of putting along? Is it clouds of dust? Do you have an image in your head? Because oftentimes what our takeaways are what we thought going in. What do you think going in?
Yeah, I think it's going to be pretty vanilla. I don't think that it's going to be. I don't think they're going to show a ton. I think they're going to rotate the quarterbacks a fair amount through the different groups. I'm expecting though, it's almost like a round of golf where it's the day is pretty unspectacular, but you're going to have 2 or 3 shots that are really going to stand out at the end of the round. And I think that's maybe what I'm expecting is, it's going to be a lot of run game. It's going to be pretty vanilla in the passing game, but you're going to have 1 or 2 plays that are going to kind of have people buzzing at the end of it. And I say that just because there's going to be so much focus on the quarterback anyways, that anything they do that's kind of like explosive is going to be magnified because people are going to be looking for that anyways.
Is there a guy you're looking for them to prove that you've heard about all spring? You're like, oh, okay, I want to see blank because he's been coming up.
Well, I want to see if Jaylen Lloyd is a guy that's more than just send him on a route straight down the field.
Yeah.
I want to see a little bit more of a complete, kind of well-rounded game to him. And I from what we've heard, I think that's happening. We'll see if that shows itself, I guess, or is able to show itself on Saturday. But I'm expecting a couple of those deep shots where they hit on them and people kind of go crazy about it. I mean, I don't know that, I don't think I'm going to see anything on Saturday that's going to, really kind of change my view on what things are going to be in the fall. But, if you hit a couple deep shots, get a few explosive plays in the passing game, I'll be okay with that. I mean, that would be okay going into the offseason. That get people buzzing a little bit. So that's kind of what I'm expecting.
Michael Bruntz, Husker 24/7. Great stuff as always, Bruntsy. We'll talk to you again next week. Enjoy the spring game.
Sounds good, guys. Thanks.